Boxing fans only have 15 days left to one of the biggest fights in the welterweight division is to take place. Yordenis Ugas vs. Eroll Spence Jr. In a freak accident, Errol Spence was flung from his vehicle at speeds exceeding up to 100 miles an hour after a late night of drinking in Texas. In what most would call a miracle, the boxing superstar miraculously survives, escaping his near brush with death with minor cuts, bruises, and some missing teeth, leaving most people to question, will Errol Spence ever fight again? And if he does, will he be the same fighter that he was? Boxing fans are left in limbo, doubting that a Spence and Crawford fight will ever happen. Errol Spence answers that question with a return bout taking on the likes of Danny Swift Garcia.
That could be significant in this fight.
You touch him, he'll play tag with you really well.
He's able to respond and counter. I think he can hurt Errol Spence. I mean, everybody, I can tell you that.
Yeah, but Danny
Garcia able to land with the jab to the body. He's usually content to slow.
While Errol Spence looked good, most people say that Errol Spence doesn't look the same, that there's something missing. Before his accident, fight fans was itching to see Errol Spence take on the #1 pound-for-pound fighter Terrence "Bud" Crawford in a unification bout to determine who is the best welterweight in the division. Errol Spence, who often downplayed the importance of the fight, was brutally criticized for seemingly ducking Terrence "Bud" Crawford and creating more excuses rather than reasons to fight the former undisputed champion.
I read it all.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I read it all too. Terrence Crawford, wait till he get a belt.
Yeah.
He ain't did nothing in the welterweight today.
You
When
have
he get
did
a belt,
nothing.
you want to
You
go
have
over
did
there. Keith Thurman want to go over there, and now y'all want to say, "Oh, I ain't fought nobody," but I got a belt now, so why?
Okay. Sean Porter got a belt too.
So now
Sean Porter got a belt too. Sean Porter. So why I go to easy road and knock Sean Porter out?
With talks of taking the easy road with Sean Porter and accusing Terrence "Bud" Crawford of being across the street, boxing fans rebelled against Errol Spence's lack of enthusiasm for the fight. Errol Spence's only concern seemed to be landing a fight with the future Hall of Famer Manny Pacquiao, which in no doubt would put him in the A-side seat when it comes to the matchup between the two fighters.
Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I?
You a smart man, but not that smart. Bro, I'm gonna crush you. I promise.
But before Errol Spence could sink his teeth into the aged fighter, Spence had to pull out of the fight due to an eye surgery, which is considered a career-ending injury to most. So a slick, hungry southpaw, Yordenis Ugas, steps in to take the challenge. In what most people would call his best performance, he beat Manny Pacquiao in impressive fashion. Leaving Spence to soak in his missed opportunity. With fighters like Jerron "Boots" Ennis in line to become his mandatory, the wall seemed to be closing in on Errol Spence, while Ugas was having problems of his own with the WBA, denying him a unification bout with Errol Spence. But in an interesting twist, when Boots was mentioned to be in line to be Errol Spence mandatory, Ugas, who was once denied a unification bout with Errol Spence, request miraculously gets granted, which leaves us with Spence versus Ugas at AT&T Stadium, April 16th, where a lot of boxing fans' questions will be answered. Will Errol Spence's eye injury and car accident play a role in the outcome? Can Errol Spence beat Yordenis Ugas? And most importantly, will Errol Spence finally call out Terrence "Bud" Crawford? Spence did an interview recently where he expressed his interest in the fight.
Assuming all goes according to plan against Yordenis Ugas, and you have your hand raised on Saturday, April 16th on Showtime pay-per-view at AT&T Stadium, is a matchup against Terrence Crawford in the near future?
I think so. I'm hopeful that, it can happen. I had 3 belts. He had his belt, so, that'd be the ultimate goal, and I feel like that'd be the biggest fight in sports, for the Undisputed crown and us 2 top 5, best pound for pound fighters in the world. So, I think that's a huge fight, especially us in our prime. I think, it's going to be a great fight. And so, I'm hoping that can happen. But like I said, not looking past the Ugas at all. That's my main priority. That's the guy that, I got to look at, because if I got to beat him to get Terrence Crawford or anybody else, So I want to get the 3rd belt and, become undisputed. So that's my ultimate goal. So I got to get past this test. So I'm not looking past Ugas at all.
Either way, this will be an interesting matchup between the two. And as far as Errol Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford, let's not forget that these two have $1 million bet on the line.
You gonna look like Benavidez.
He had 1 leg.
You gonna look like
He had 1 leg. He had 1 leg.
I'm gonna make you mistake your leg.
What you want to bet on that?
What you want to bet
I
on?
can bet 100,000 on that.
Let's bet $1 million.
Easy.
Let's bet $1
We can
million.
bet $1 million.
You getting that
Easy.
money, right?
Easy. Let's bet $1 million. Easy. What are you talking about? There it goes. We're talking crazy.
Errol Spence versus Terrence Bud Crawford is easily the biggest fight in boxing today. A callback to the old days when there were no streets and no fan base to hide behind. A fight that boxing desperately needs to rejuvenate itself in its interest in the sport. So on April 16th, the world will be watching to see where this story begins or ends. Will Ugas derail Spence, or will Spence remain triumphant in his undisputed quest? I guess we will have to wait and see. I'm Bruce Vane, and you have just got the rundown.
He can't be the boogeyman if I'm chasing him.
I'm the dog of the division. I'm the boogeyman.
You can't be the boogeyman if I'm chasing you.